Hey, listeners, just before we get into today's podcast, I just wanted to give a shout out to today's sponsor, the Pretentious Pickle Company. The Pretentious Pickle Company is located at 190 Water Street right here in Plymouth, Massachusetts. If you are a pickled fan, you can find everything under the sun here that has been pickled, whether it be obviously pickled cucumbers, but they do cauliflower, green beans, carrots, onions, okra, Brussels sprouts, eggs, anything that you can pickle, they do pickle. It's all delicious. They have tons of things to choose from. It's made right there in their own kitchen, all locally made, all locally sourced. And they're just such a great place to go. So if you live here in Plymouth, by all means, swing down to 190 Water Street and check them out. They are open Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 10 to 4, and Sundays, 11 to 4. But if you're not local to Plymouth, you can still enjoy Pretentious Pickle Company by heading over to www.pretentiouspickle.com, and you can order right there and they'll ship it to you. So you can get pickles locally sourced somewhere else and shipped right to you, and they're all delicious. So definitely check them out. Thank you to the Pretentious Pickle people.
Across the line, the Gulf Stream, I've been in Tampa Bay, around the Horn, and home again, 'cause that is the sailor's way.
Welcome back to the Old Colony Cast, a podcast about all things Plymouth and surrounding areas. I am your host, Andy, and as always, joined by producer Fish.
Hello.
And co-host Hannah. What's up, Hannah?
Ahoy, hoy.
Ahoy, hoy.
I just wanted to switch it up today.
Okay. That's fair. So lots of things going on lately, and I'm always curious to see what you bring. So what are we talking about today?
We're going to start with kind of a hot topic. We had already had this person on the list.
I think it was on our 50 for 50 episode.
Was it?
I think so.
No, you're looking at the notes I have on this notebook,
I don't think
Which
so.
is
That's the wrong
fine.
notebook, Andy.
but I'm using this notebook.
Okay. So
talk-
what are we talking about today?
We're going to talk about Dr. Seuss.
Yeah, that's on the 50 for 50.
No, it was on our list that we have. Our Word
Pretty
doc.
sure, because there was a whole conversation about how like the Massachusetts official children's book is not the same as the official Massachusetts.
Oh, yeah, you're totally right.
Yeah.
I know.
Wow.
And
Mark it on your calendar, everybody. Andy was right.
I'm sorry, Andy. That's the wrong podcast.
You can still mark it on your calendar. It makes me
Nope.
feel good when I'm right.
Was it a different podcast?
There was an episode called Andy
One of the
Was
Bar
Right.
Talk episodes
Yeah.
is called Andy Was Right.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. All right. Well, moving on. Either way.
So
Well,
what are we talking about today?
Dr. Seuss.
He's been in the news a lot.
He has been in the news a lot, and he was on our list before this happened, but I think I'd like to see how my notes would have changed and what we talk about would have changed, but it's too late for that. What's happened has happened.
That's
and
true.
We're going to
That's
go
true.
forward. And so I guess I'm going to start by telling you a little bit about him first, and then we can kind of get into
Roll back the craziness.
current events, about what's been happening with him
Okay.
or his estate.
Yeah, I mean, nothing's happening with him for a while.
Yeah, he's been,
He's
yeah.
pretty chill. Yeah.
he's hanging tight.
He's moved on.
Yes, for a while now. But either, he's good where he is. So he was born in March 2nd, 1904, and he was raised in Springfield, Massachusetts. His full name is Theodore Seuss Geisel.
Okay.
And now Seuss is actually the name we know him by, but we've all been saying it wrong.
Oh, really?
So Seuss is pronounced Seuss.
Oh, my God. Let's just start calling him Dr. Soy's. The people who are already upset will lose their minds.
So, it's not Seuss, it's Seuss, like
Okay.
voice. And he is of German descent. I don't think his parents were immigrants, but they were just of German descent.
Okay.
Or at least it didn't specify that they were. And his, they were like upper middle class. They weren't struggling in life, really.
They were doing okay?
Yeah, they
And
were
what
doing
was
okay.
when was he born? What year?
1904.
1904. Okay.
Yeah, like from everything I could see, it wasn't anything that they were they were fine. His dad always had steady work.
Yeah.
And then at one point, I think became the parks manager of Springfield,
Okay.
which is a pretty good
So he's doing
town
okay.
job. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good.
Not wealthy, but not poor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And his he said growing up his family did experience some anti-German rhetoric.
I could see that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially around the World War.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. What are you
Yeah.
gonna do?
So obviously just by their name, because
Yeah.
it's not like they were out there speaking German or even with
They're
German
speaking German. I
accents.
didn't know where you're going with that. I'm like, out there doing what?
German things. No.
Rocking lederhosen,
Yeah.
eating schnitzel in public.
So after high school, he went to Dartmouth College, and that's where he went for his undergrad. And while he was there, he got caught having a party in his dorm, and
Yeah.
him and some buds were drinking back.
Drinking back? Were they drinking with a goat? Were they drinking on a boat?
No, they were drinking gin. And
Were they drinking gin in the bin?
sure,
Okay.
why not? But it was that was during.
Yes, Fish. There's going to be a lot of those.
This is during the special time of American history.
Oh, is this during Prohibition?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So I mean, it's a college campus anyway, so it's not like
It's not like they were probably able to drink anyways.
Exactly.
It was just
They
double.
They were
wrong.
extra not. Yeah, they were extra not able to drink.
right. So it's like something someone would get in trouble for today.
Sure.
On most campuses, at least. So as punishment, he was suspended from participating in any extracurricular activities that he was currently a part of, and one of those was working for the Jack-O-Lantern, which was a college humor magazine that
Okay.
was published out of Dartmouth College. And he
Which is weird. Like, I didn't realize how many colleges have that kind of
yeah,
thing.
what's the one? National Lampoon.
National
that
Lampoon,
started as a college
yeah.
Yeah, that started
magazine.
like. Yeah, nope, blanking.
At a college.
Yeah,
I know.
at
Right?
a
I
college.
used to know what college, Andy.
Oh, yeah.
You used to should have been on the
I
podcast.
don't know. So, he actually had risen to editor in chief of that magazine, and so because he was not allowed to actually work
Yep.
technically on it, he submitted anything he wrote for it under
on like a pseudonym.
yes,
A
Seuss.
nom de plume.
Seuss
Yeah.
or Seuss.
Swiss.
So that's where he started penning the name Seuss.
Okay.
Did he call himself doctor at that point?
Not yet, no.
Because that would be very brave.
Yes, it would. And
In college, I'm just gonna give myself a PhD.
And you know what? I'm going to say when he did, it's still probably just as brave and bold of a move. So
I'm gonna start calling myself Dr. Andy.
you could just,
I have a doctorate in podcasting.
I think he's proof you can just kind of adapt it whenever you want. So went on to attend Lincoln College of Oxford for his doctorate in philosophy and English literature. So he was working towards a doctorate. And that's where he met his wife, Helen Palmer. And she really thought he had a natural talent for illustration and thought that was the thing he should pursue
Yeah.
rather than English, or maybe jointly at the same time. But thought he was just a spectacular artist, that guy. And he ended up leaving Oxford and not finishing his doctorate. But right after that, he started submitting work to magazines, papers, everything, and he landed a job as a writer/illustrator for Judge Magazine. And once he landed that job, he started adding doctor.
Just being like, why not?
Yeah. He's like, I got halfway there, whatever.
Ooh, I'm gonna be a general of podcasting. Call me General Andy.
That one's like,
You don't have to salute. It's cool.
yeah, okay, cool. So that's when he added doctor in front of the Seuss or Seuss.
Yeah.
And this is when he started making ads for Flit insecticide.
Okay.
And these got a lot of attention, like worldwide. They were in magazines like Life, Liberty, Justice. No, I'm kidding.
no, that's fine. I was just supposed to
I
say
was
Pursuit
I
of
was like
Happiness,
right
so-
there too. Yeah.
Vanity Fair.
Yeah. Life, Liberty, and Vanity Fair.
Yeah.
The American way.
Yeah, pretty much. And it became a really popular catchphrase. One of his cartoons for it or ads for it, it said, "Quick, Henry, the Flit." and this is like there were a couple of popular comedians at the time that
And would use that as a punchline?
yeah,
kind of thing?
exactly.
Oh, that's cool.
So it was really well known,
And he's always had a very distinct art style.
right,
Yeah.
right, for sure. And this is from 1928 to 1941. That like he had ads in rotation or circulation that
Yeah.
he had made for the company, and yeah, they were super. You know, it's like when you think about the ads we know today that get like stuck
I mean,
in your
it's
head,
it's,
kind
it's
of.
like the whole "what's up" of its
yeah.
day.
What was that an ad for?
Bud Light,
Budweiser.
Budweiser, Bud Light, one of those.
Yeah.
You know, when they called up on the phone. You
Yeah, I
I'm
know
talking
what
about?
it's
All
for.
right,
I just
okay.
wanted to like
Yeah,
know what it was an ad.
It doesn't
for.
matter what it's for.
I just needed to know. I needed
It
it.
literally matters what it's for.
Nah.
That's what
That's-
ads are for.
The whole point of the ad is to be for something, Andy.
I know.
I can never
I
tell
like-
Thank you for explaining
I really
what an
love.
ad is.
I really love ads that air, and you just have no idea what you were.
Yeah, or
like,
or
being
like you're
sold.
watching and all of a sudden in the end it's like for like a depression medication. You're like,
yeah.
really? What was?
Yeah, where was it? in
Why
there?
was the guy like driving a car in a demolition derby? Like it makes no sense.
My rule of thumb is the less sense I can make out of the ad, the more likely it is going to be for perfume.
Okay, yeah, that's
Oh, okay.
actually.
Because
I can call those
The-
from a mile away.
yeah, but it's
Yeah.
like this has got nothing to do with any. I have no idea.
Literally.
Nothing about this has to do with smelling good.
Yeah, who's the
But-
chick that's always in them? Keira Knightley. Yeah, she's in a lot of them.
Is she? I don't know if I'd
don't-
recognize her. You know who she is.
I know who she is. I just don't recognize her from perfume ads. I think of more.
Pirates of the Caribbean.
This is where I admit I don't think I've ever seen Pirates of the Caribbean.
What?
I don't. I
You
just
don't like good things? Is that what you're gonna say?
No, I
You hate fun?
I think we've learned over the years, Andy, that I hate fun and my own happiness. So yes,
Yeah. All right. Well, you should watch it.
Yeah,
You're a
at
lot
least
happier
the
now. You
first
should-
one
you
is-
should-
it's
yeah.
cute.
Yeah, you don't have to watch the other ones. It's just the first one.
Yeah. They did get
So-
a little carried away.
it's in the Matrix oeuvre of the first one is good and they just kept going.
I honestly don't even think it's,
Not
it's
nearly as
bad
bad
to
as
watch.
Matrix.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, okay.
they're not like bad to watch.
You're just gonna have to,
they're
like-
just there.
If you care about plot holes or like
Oh.
overreaching or just being like, this is just nonsense.
Look, Andy,
Kind of like on the
you know
vein
I'm a
of
nerd, right?
but kind of on the vein of the Mummy,
Yeah,
where like it's just super fun to watch. It's just dumb fun, and you're like,
Yes.
this is a cool set piece. That
Okay,
has
I do really enjoy the Mummy.
All right.
the Mummy's
The Mummy-
so good.
it's not Mummy good, but it's
Yeah,
Okay.
it's
I
worth a
totally
watch.
agree.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
there's similarities there of
So Dr. Seuss started
Nonsense.
working on the Mummy.
yeah. No, but this is actually those ads.
It's set in the same time.
Those ads are the first things, at least, that we can like see documented where he uses some not very kind depictions of
So that's why he's been in
black people.
yeah, the news recently. But he's done multiple comic strips, and this
Yeah.
was very common for the time. Like Mel Blanc, who is known for his voicing of Bugs Bunny and Looney Tunes characters, did cartoons meant for the military, and they're super not okay.
Yeah.
You know, so this is
He did the same thing.
yeah, it
Yeah,
was
but-
yeah, and I think they actually worked on some stuff together,
Mm-hmm.
and it's I don't want to say it's of the time, so it's not a big deal, but it was of the
Yeah,
time.
I
and-
mean,
Yeah.
and then again, Looney Tunes of the time, a lot of that is super not okay.
correct.
like-
Yeah. So that's one of like the first of his kind of intros to
Yeah,
looking back and maybe taking a step back.
yeah. Looking back and going, oh, he's
Yeah.
not all great.
Yeah, no, definitely not. Because, and this is like the thing I'll say about it. It's not the only thing I'll say about. One thing I'll say about it. It's yes, there were plenty of people making similar choices with their artwork, but there were also people who never did.
Oh, correct.
Yeah.
And we also know far more than they did then,
Yeah,
so it's not wrong for us to be like, yes, he did this. It was of a time, and
Yeah.
I don't have to
right.
approve or read it.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So, moving on. He actually got very wealthy from those ads.
Really?
Yes, that's what like jump started
good for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like at that time to get wealthy from like
But think about what we just talked about.
Okay.
Like I'm
And you said good for him. You're a monster fish.
look, on some level, I am just always happy for an artist to make
No.
a living off their art.
Even if it's racist. Nice. I was more just like blown away that like an artist at that time got wealthy.
Yeah, no, he made a lot of money from those. So much so that he got to like kind of make up his own hours at his job.
Nice.
Because he was,
I mean, Andy,
to
how
some
dare
level,
we be okay with that?
self-employed. And he, him and his wife decided to just travel a lot. They ended up visiting over 30 countries and just taking time to live life. And again, think back to what he made that money off of, which I just think is very interesting.
Killing bugs, right?
Yeah, killing bugs. Let's say that. So from that, they moved up in like social status too. Like this,
Yeah.
it wasn't just like money to
Yeah.
not.
Yeah, but I mean, when you have money,
That's
it's
what
kind
Kenny
of hard
Rich,
not to.
Yeah, that's what Kenny Rich does.
Yeah. And he got more deals with just different companies doing ads and different work for NBC and Ford Motors, which is huge.
Oh, really?
Yeah. In 1931 to 1932, I don't think I can say any of this with a straight face.
Okay.
His first set of children's books came out, and it was a collection of 4 books published by Viking Press, and it was called A Pocket Book of Boners.
It was a different time, Hannah.
And I said, what? So obviously I had to look at
So you had to look that up to be like, what is it?
Yeah.
So
Would-
Hannah, had
would
to
that be like-
very carefully make sure her safe search was on?
Was that like jokes and
Yeah,
gags?
children's sayings.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
jokes,
Yeah.
gags. You got it. And they were a hit. They were so popular, he made a sequel.
The second book of boners?
Just more boners.
More boners? Oh my God.
Tastefully titled More,
More
boners.
I know what image is going to go in the image for this episode.
So, because he was still like traveling and working and traveling and kind of balancing that kind of life, they were coming home from an ocean voyage.
Wow.
Fun, right?
So he's clearly pretty set.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
and
He can make a lot of money from boners.
and you anyway, they were coming back from that ocean voyage, like I said, and he heard the sound of the engine on the boat, and it was in such a rhythm that it inspired him to inspired the rhyme in the book. What is it? So It Happened on Mulberry Street.
Okay.
Oh, and to think I saw it on Mulberry
Street.
Street. Yeah, which is a road that he lived like 2 blocks up from in Springfield was Mulberry Street.
So he kind of got his meter from the engine.
Yes, exactly.
interesting.
It got his juices flowing. His creative juices.
I said nothing.
Jeez. Anyway, so he actually found some, or didn't find a publisher right away for that, but Vanguard Press ended up taking it on in 1937 and having it published then. But he did have a hard time getting that published versus his
His boner book?
yes
I'm sorry, books.
books of
Yeah,
boners.
Books of boners.
Ironically, the boners were actually not hard.
No. Oh God. All right. Let's go. World War II, everyone.
Yeah, the show is getting a little more PG than I think we're supposed to.
Yeah.
He took on more political work and ended up doing a political cartoons for a New York daily magazine or daily newspaper, called PM, and it was very much a liberal and left-leaning newspaper. And likewise, he was too. He was highly critical of the war and the politicians' decisions going into it and during. And he was very outspoken for the need to intervene when it came to anti-authoritism or anti-authoritism.
Yeah.
So
So was he for getting involved in the war?
he wanted to get involved
Because prior,
he hated Hitler.
and it's one of those
and
weird
Mussolini.
things, like people don't realize that initially the country was like, oh, we're just not going to get involved.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the big things of American history is that we're kind of by ourselves with the whole big honking ocean in between
Yeah.
anyone. So we have a tendency to get very insular, especially before, things like common space air flight, when like it was hard to get anywhere. So
Well,
all of a sudden,
I
you could
find
kind
it-
of be isolationist when you only have
Yeah.
your own little hemisphere to deal with.
Yeah. So in 1942, he joined, was hired by Army.
Why are you laughing?
I'm just like thinking about this whole episode. To make posters for the Treasury Department and the War Production Board. And then in 1943, he actually joined Army as a captain in command of the animation department in the first motion picture department.
This is when you work with Mel Blanc.
Yes,
Yeah.
and made the propaganda pieces.
I believe a lot of them were entitled Private Snafu.
Yes, you got it.
I know my stuff.
And then, so one of them was Your Job in Germany, and the other one was Our Job in Japan.
Yeah.
And one of those, like, Private Snafu, or I forget which one, but pretty much two of them went on. Oh, Our Job in Japan. Someone took the idea of that, made a documentary, and won an Academy Award for it. And then another one, I forget which one it was. I think it was Private Snafu from like the original.
Yeah.
They
These weren't,
used-
I mean, they were like 5-10 minutes long.
No, well, yeah,
they
the
were super
Private
short,
Snafu
yeah.
one was made into a slightly different story, but using Dr. Seuss's like original story.
Yeah.
And won an Academy Award from that too,
So-
as a short film.
Yeah, so Private Snafu was like voiced by Mel Blanc, and
Mm-hmm.
he was kind of like the moron, and it was about like, oh, you shouldn't talk about where your unit's moving when you're overseas, and you shouldn't talk about
it was a
that.
training video.
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's, snafu, which is a military term for situation normal, all effed
Fouled.
up. Effed.
Fouled.
Effed up. I said
Fouled
effed.
up.
I said effed.
Yeah.
So he was kind of like the guy that ruined it for everybody.
Yeah.
But yeah.
They had to know.
Yeah.
They had to know what would happen in a fun way. So after the war, they moved to California and published through a few different publishers, and that's when he started writing many of the titles that we know him for today. In May 1954, Life magazine produced a study that showed kids at the learner and beginner phases of reading were struggling because they thought their books were boring.
Mm-hmm.
So they were having a hard time learning how to read, and illiteracy was
Sure.
pretty common.
I can see that.
So William Spalding, the director of education for Houghton Mifflin, made a list of 348 words that he felt were
I'm sorry is it Houghton Mifflin or Houghton?
Houghton. But I always say Houghton.
Don't do that. we already found out that it's not Seuss. So at
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
point, I don't trust
No,
anything
it's
I know
Houghton.
about publishing. Don't do that to me, Hannah.
Sorry.
You know we have issues trusting you.
So he found he made a list of 348 words he felt were needed in that age range for vocabulary as far as recognition and use and all that. So he felt those were the most important words for that group of learners to have in their books. And then Geisel took the list down to 250 words. And using that, he wrote The Cat in the Hat. So, but before he decided what words to use,
Yeah.
he was not against the list, but frustrated with it. So he decided the first two words he saw that rhymed
Our cat and hat.
were the ones, and those were the ones he would base the story around.
I'm trying not to jump ahead. I want to.
No, that's
I know.
okay.
I know stuff too.
And he ended up using only 232 of the
Yeah.
250 words he.
I would like to know what happened to the 100 or so words that he just didn't think were good enough.
I think that he ended up using them in other books because it wasn't
Well, I assume. I mean, they're all basic words, but it's
Yeah.
that's a weird kind of triage.
he also started writing more books for that specific need.
Do we touch on the bet about I think it's 12 words?
Oh yeah, I didn't even write that, but I totally forgot.
Yeah, so I believe it was a bet, and I
Yeah.
can't remember how many words. It was not a lot, like 12 words. Someone
Yeah.
bet him he couldn't write a book with just 12 words, and that was Green Eggs and Ham.
Yeah, I didn't write it.
It might not be
down.
12,
No, it wasn't 12.
but
It
it's
wasn't
not a
12.
lot.
Yeah, no, it's not a lot. That's
See,
so
I just didn't
funny.
want to jump ahead because that's usually what I do.
No, that's
See, the
okay.
one time I don't.
Yeah, that would have been a good jump ahead, and you did it. You know what?
Yeah,
Let's
I
count
did it anyways.
What did you get right earlier?
Oh, the whole Sergeant Snafu.
Yeah, no. It was a different thing.
50.
50.
50 words. Okay,
It's
all
50
right.
words. Yeah.
There was something else you got right earlier.
Did he work with Mel Blanc?
No, I think it was off episode actually. So we can forget about
Oh,
it.
that we talked about him in the 50 and 50 episode. Mm-hmm. That's right.
That is
I'm
right.
so right infrequently that I forgot.
So yeah, he started writing all those kinds of books like that. Kept publishing towards that, not just beginner readers,
Yeah.
but learning readers, which is like a different category of readers. So I don't know about you guys, but the first book I ever learned how to read was Cat in the Hat.
Oh, I don't think mine was. Dr. Seuss was definitely part of my learning to read, but it was not the first.
Yeah, no, that
Like-
was the first book I could read fully through.
First book for me, I think, was like either a Dick and Jane, or they had.
They mentioned Dick
I-
and Jane
I
a lot.
wish I
because
could
It was the
re-
only other like
I
book.
Yeah. Growing up, there was another one, and there was like a little fat red guy and like a tall, skinny blue or green guy. I have no idea.
is
what
it like
they're
the
called.
Mr. Men books, or
No, no,
there were
no.
like actually people, not just shapes?
No, there were people, and there was two different ones. Only two different ones. And
Okay.
but they were in every one. I couldn't even begin to tell you what they're called.
I literally.
If
do
anyone
not-
listening knows, please email us because I'd be very curious.
I honestly do not recall the first book.
You're talking
I
like
ever read.
late 70s, early 80s beginning reading.
Like, I
could probably Google it, but
I got
I'm just
nothing.
not
The
gonna.
first book I remember reading was about dinosaurs, and I'm pretty sure that was not my first because that'd be super weird. But I know my brother's first book was "Have You Seen My Cat?" And I only remember this because we couldn't figure out if
Because
he
you had seen his cat?
I just couldn't figure out if he was reading the book or if he just memorized the whole thing.
But I think that's a lot of that early reading is like
Yeah.
like memorizing the words.
I
and
mean,
like
it's-
learning them
it's
visually.
not
No,
a-
I remember reading it in my living room, like learning the words, having learned the words in class, and then going back and like picking up that book and being like the cat in the hat. Like I got it all, and then I got to read it to the class the next day.
It's fine. You don't have a learning disability. It's okay. It's fine. I'm fine.
What do you mean?
And
No.
he's got reading
Issues.
issues.
Yeah, I do too.
I still struggle with Cat in the Hat.
Yeah, all right. So, in 1955, Dartmouth College gave him an honorary doctorate.
So in 1955, he officially became a doctor.
Yes,
Well, honorary doctor.
honorary doctor.
I'm pretty sure that you don't actually get to.
You don't get to use doctor.
You don't get to say doctor if it's an honorary one.
Either way, he joked that he would be called Dr. Seuss.
Dr. Seuss? That'd be funny.
And in 1960,
Was he okay with being called Seuss and not
Seuss?
Yeah.
had mentioned it at one point that he's like, no one pronounces it correctly. It's the German pronunciation, Seuss. And then he had like a little rhyme about it. About rejoice.
And
and
it's somehow,
voice.
despite the fact the man wrote rhymes,
Yeah.
that, let's be honest, we can all quote a bunch of them right now, and it's fine. That one didn't stick. Because we
Yeah.
obviously, it's Seuss. It's too late, man.
Yeah.
At some point in your life, you just have to accept that just because it's your name, that's not what everyone's going to call you.
I don't bank on anyone pronouncing my last name correctly ever.
Dowling?
That's my married name.
Gonzalez?
Yeah, you're almost there.
I feel like I'm there.
Eh.
I feel like I'm there.
Okay, no, we have to. How are we supposed to be saying it?
You know what? Don't
Come on,
worry
Hannah.
about it.
Soyce. Soyce. Hannah Soyce Dowling.
So he had just his books were flying off the shelves. Everyone was using them.
Yeah.
Everyone loved them.
Well, they're great books.
In 19-
I read them to my kids.
Yeah, in 1960, Green Eggs and Ham sold over 6 million copies.
Wow.
That's just crazy. In 1967, his wife Helen died by suicide after a struggle with a long-term
Ooh.
illness.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And in 1968, he remarried Audrey Diamond and didn't have any children with either of his wives. And he continued to receive a lot of awards and accolades for all of his works until his death in September 24th, 1991.
Wow, he died in 91?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can't tell if that feels.
I just feel like I would have remembered that.
Yeah, you would have remembered that. Hannah definitely not,
Because I would have been like,
because she was a
sophomore?
literal child.
I remember seeing like
I would have been like a
things
sophomore or
about
junior.
his death.
How old would you have been?
But I remember stuff for like a very, very weird young age.
Like I'm doing the math. It's like I remember things. It's like you were barely off object permanence. Let's get a little.
No, I really do. Like, hold on.
I don't remember it at all.
I don't.
Although this was like my later high school career, so
Oh, there's
lots
a lot
there's
there.
lots
There's
of
a lot
parts of
you
my
weren't-
high school career I don't.
There's
quite
a lot
remember.
you weren't there for anymore, were
I
you?
was there, sorta.
You can't prove any of it.
I knew that
Well,
when
again,
I was
people took pictures.
reading, and I knew that when I was reading his books, I knew he was dead.
Yeah,
Yeah, like because someone told me. Because why not tell a child that's learning how to read that the guy that wrote those books is dead?
oh, that guy's dead.
Yeah. So
And a little racist.
yeah, we'll get to that. So just quickly going over his like political views, kind of looking back. He was a liberal Democrat, and this is a triggering word for some people. But he was also anti-fascist.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
If you're a liberal Democrat.
Yeah.
Well,
that
let's
kinda
be honest.
tracks.
If you were in the army during World War II, you were by default anti-fascist.
It's very true.
We did kind of go to war with them.
I think
Yeah.
this is if like someone is described as this today, I think it would be funny to see like not. I don't want to talk about cancel culture that much because it drives me nuts. But
No such thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think it would be funny to see who would be the people wanting his books.
The people
Taken
who are
down.
upset about his books
Are the people who would totally
feel that they're being canceled by liberal Democrats.
Anyway,
Which- Then again, the guy who would be canceled would probably just be him.
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
famous for saying, well, not famous, but he had, he's put in his political cartoons that the fear of communism was overstated and just like used as a fear tactic.
Yeah.
It was
Oh, absolutely.
completely
yeah.
out of line. And supported, this is where it gets a little tricky, he supported the Japanese internment camps during the war.
Huh.
Oh,
That's interesting.
Yep. But only during the wartime, and then he did end up not. There wasn't anything I could see that said like he apologized for thinking that or supporting that idea. But Horton hears a who
Yeah.
isn't like an allegory for that time, and yeah.
He did a lot of allegorical
He
writing.
did.
Yeah.
Which I'll read a couple of them that I thought were
Okay.
like, I had no idea.
this is where I'm going to get my mind blown because
Don't jump ahead, Fish. That's
I'm
my
not.
job.
I'm just going to admit that
He later
80 to
changed-
85% of the Dr. Seuss content that I've taken in the last 30 plus years is The Grinch. And that's
I literally
it.
just had the weirdest realization, like sitting here, because like I grew up on Dr. Seuss. I'm a big fan of his art. Like I think the guy may have problems, but is still a good person. And then just sitting here, like all of a sudden, I was like, "Oh yeah, the Grinch was his." Like totally. I don't know why in my head that's
Yeah.
completely separate, but
I know what you mean.
yeah,
You know what? It's a Christmas show.
Yeah.
that's probably why. Yeah,
As soon as you get seasonal, it's by itself.
yeah.
So yeah, Horton Hears a Who was kind of his mind changing about that and having a different perspective on it after the war.
You're gonna have to reread that.
Me too, because I'm
Yeah.
like, what? It's about Japanese internment camps?
Yeah,
Oh my god! And then during the Watergate scandal, he had published not like a reprinting full book, but of Marvin K. Mooney. He released a Richard K. Nixon version.
no kidding.
Yep. Richard K. Nixon, will you please go now?
That's awesome.
And then in his later years in 1980, they threatened to sue a pro-life group for using his, like a quote from his book, "A person's a person no matter how small."
Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and he was like,
He was pretty liberal.
yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
He was
I
like-
mean, like we've been bouncing back and forth about this, but on some level, you have to grade on a curve.
yeah.
Like he was not great in the 40s, but a lot of people weren't great in the 40s, and at least it seems that as time passed, he learned and grew, which is the kind of thing where you acknowledge the bad, but you still have to give
And-
credit for later on in his life he would have thought that was bad too.
And this is not approving of anything, but like a lot of his racist stuff was done during wartime. And the last thing you want your soldiers to think of is the other side as human beings.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
well,
you don't want them running out in the field to be like, oh, do I really want to shoot this guy? And
Yeah.
that's not
No.
really how war works.
So, just another example of an allegory, which they all are, but I just thought these were really
Oh, yeah. What
funny.
are the other ones?
Or, some of the more notable ones. Yertle the Turtle was about Hitler and fascism.
I've heard that. Yeah, yeah.
And I had no
I've definitely
idea.
heard that for sure.
I had no clue. The Lorax, we all know.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the Lorax is.
Anti-commercialism,
I mean, the
pro-environment.
Lorax is many things. It is not subtle.
No. And the Grinch, materialism.
Materialism,
Yeah.
kind of the commercialism, of
Yeah.
Christmas. Yeah.
Almost as subtle as the Lorax.
Yeah.
I know.
Well, I mean, the Lorax is pretty.
and then he had the
Yeah.
Sneetches, which
Sneetches,
was
I don't remember that one.
yeah, the Sneetches was about racial equality.
Really?
Yep, and the pro-racial equality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
which
well, which goes back to he.
Don't
Sorry, Hannah.
Don't
Am I-
jump ahead. That's my job.
I'm sorry, Hannah. Am I trying to jump ahead?
you're trying to jump ahead, kind of, but I'm going to interrupt you. The Sneetches was published in 1953. Now I can't say that some of his works maybe didn't go right to publishing, but based off the publishing dates of the 6 books that have gotten just pulled.
Have been
from-
pulled from publication.
Yep. The Sneetches was written in 1953. It's not pulled from publication. However, one of them, On Beyond Zebra, was published in 1955,
Okay.
which has some of the questionable.
Which is some of the questionable. Yeah.
Yeah.
or not questionable, because some of it's so blatantly obvious. I haven't looked
I suppose
through.
it's questionable in that the question is, dude, what were you thinking?
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
for sure. That's a good way to put it. So, that really wraps up just where we're at now with the 6 books that they decided to take out of publication.
Who are they? That is always the most important
They-
part.
They are obviously
Because
Antifa
it's-
in the liberal
because it's,
caucus.
it's,
No.
Let's
it's
say
not the
Jews,
government.
'cause
All
why
right.
not?
Yeah. I mean, it's not the government.
It's the Seuss company.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the Seuss company decided to.
So they made
No one wrote them a letter. Actually,
Yeah.
the people who have spoken out most about Seuss's questionable illustrations and uses of just derogatory racial things in
Yeah.
his books have been other authors. I read a thing during the opening of his museum. The Japanese depiction from I forget what book was in one of the murals there, and an author came in and was like, "Why are you still promoting this? Like
Right.
this is crazy." So it was actually other authors, like more current to the
Yeah.
times, that did that. So that makes me think if he died in 1991 and went through everything, civil rights and all of that.
And he was not alive when the museum opened.
No, but
So
I,
it wasn't his decision.
No.
Yeah.
But what I think is, I think why some people might look at it and still say it's not okay, and this is why, is because he had so many chances after
Yeah.
Yeah.
to correct it himself, and his legacy company's doing it.
Yeah.
Correct.
30 years after he died. So when
But-
we went through so many changes as a company.
Yeah, but even, I mean, going back 30 years, you go back to the early 90s, it's still not.
But this is the other thing is
Great.
even going
Just aside.
but
Just aside.
even
of
going
it.
back that far, there was not this movement to like. So this is like the prime time when I was in high school, and they'd be like, "Oh, so and so wrote this book, and it's not super cool." There was never a, well, this should be pulled, this should be pulled. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but it was just kind of like, yep, this exists.
Yeah.
You know, it just, there wasn't this and I don't want to say mentality because it makes it sound like I disapprove, and I don't disapprove these books not being published, but it was just like yep, it's just there.
Yeah.
You know, what are we going to do
but
about
at
it?
the same time,
I think that was the mentality of what
Yeah.
what am I going to do about
Well,
it?
that's
They're
the
like,
thing.
well, not put that out.
when you say what are we going to do about it, these are the people who can actually do something about it. They're not doing book burnings. They're not trying to like buy them all
No,
back.
I understand. I'm just saying
I
at,
know,
at the
but
time
I'm
it was.
I know. I
yeah.
was at least vaguely there for the early 80s or early 90s. The early 80s, I may have been a little tiny baby.
But
yeah.
it was just like a slightly different mindset.
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah.
No, it
I mean,
was.
we are
I know.
Yeah.
we are
It's just-
not the people we were 30 years ago.
And
Just
that's also one of
as a
those things to
society.
kind of like, it sounds as though through his life and career, he grew and changed.
Yeah,
I would
Yeah.
say slightly. Yes. I think just from what I understood of other authors, that they were not quiet about their opinions of his works, and not just his. It was other authors
Yeah.
too that went through the same thing.
I mean, we brought up Mel Blanc a couple of times, and
Yeah.
and Mel Blanc he's an icon.
Yeah. But Looney Tunes, rough. Rough. If you go back and watch them, they're
Like, I mean, there's a reason. There's a lot of early Looney Tunes that you just
you're hard pressed to find ones that carry through.
Yeah.
yeah.
And then I think this idea of I wouldn't under the definitive what people consider canceled now, I would not consider this being canceled whatsoever. I think it's a
It's a corporate
No,
decision.
It's a
is-
corporate
Yeah, it is
move to preemptively probably save them
Yeah.
down the road from having to deal
Yeah.
with it in a
I mean,
different light.
Yeah,
what
it
are
is
the
them
6
making-
books that were discontinued?
If I Ran a Zoo, Scrambled Eggs for Supper, McElliot's Pool, On Beyond Zebra, and I think the Main Street one.
And to think I saw it on
Yeah,
Mulberry
thank
Street.
you.
Okay,
And
so
the Cat's Quizzer.
if I Ran a Zoo, I'm pretty sure I remember. The others,
Yeah.
I'll be honest.
you could be making that up.
And to think I saw it all on Mulberry Street is the only one on that list that I'd ever heard of.
Yeah,
I've
If
never.
I Ran
I
a
don't-
Zoo was the only one I had heard of.
Yeah.
like, it's just one of those.
and that's one of those like
He wrote a lot of
everyone's
books.
outraged, and you're like, you don't even know what the books are.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
wrote over 60 books.
Yeah.
Yeah, and 54 out of 60 is good enough.
Pretty good.
Yeah,
I'll take that.
I'm pretty happy with that.
So he, it's just one of those things, and I think it's interesting to look at like the history of people being mad about books. Because when I was a kid, you know what books people were flipping out about? Harry Potter. Those were not allowed in our schools.
Hannah?
Like,
I know. Like suddenly, I'm like, I don't like this show anymore.
I just want to I just think it's so funny that I think. It's been so long since there's been controversy over books, but Harry Potter was the hot button, and really people who don't get down with magical ideas
Yeah,
were like,
trying to think. Like I remember
Get outta
when I was in
here.
high school, it was the
burn those books, or telling our kids about the devil.
It was the Anarchist Cookbook, which
Which-
you might have a point.
Okay, fair. yeah, that was still a thing when I was in high school.
Yeah.
And to tick back to when I was to go back to the 80s, we had the whole Satanic Panic with D&D,
Oh yeah.
and
For
that was
sure.
a whole bag of.
With D&D?
Yeah. The
Wait, have you
Satanic
never heard
Panic?
about the Satanic Panic?
Of course I know about the Satanic Panic, but
D&D
That was all,
Dungeons and
that was all,
Dragons
like,
was
heavy
like-
metal music and Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah.
that's hilarious.
It almost
I didn't
bankrupted the company.
I didn't know
Yeah.
D&D was
It
attached
was-
to the Satanic
Yeah.
Panic at
Oh,
all.
yeah.
No,
Big time.
like the Satanic Panic was about D&D.
No, it was
my
about
God.
D&D and heavy metal music.
Yeah,
Oh God.
it was two things. It was metal and D&D, and that's it.
They were coming for the nerds.
Yeah.
They were like,
People-
"What are you doing? We
What-
just want to hang
what?
out in our basement."
Exactly, and
Yeah.
worship Satan, Hannah.
Yeah, why not?
They couldn't
That
get
was
girls.
kind of
That's why.
What else? What else are you gonna do? No, but
I
I, just
mean-
love that. It's like for anyone who's never played D&D, you could turn it somewhat into about Satan if you wanted.
You could turn D&D into
to
anything you really
and
want.
that's what's so great about
Yes.
it.
yeah.
So.
Roll.
Oh my God, Dr. Seuss D&D.
No, Andy.
Yeah,
No.
yeah, yeah,
No.
yeah.
No.
Interesting.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I like it.
Yeah, you're talking to. That's right up my alley.
All right. I feel like there's going to be a campaign coming. I don't know
Can
yet.
we make this the all bard party?
I don't know.
I feel like this needs to
don't
be
know.
the time we bust out the All Barred party.
Maybe. I don't know. It's gonna be weird.
Man, this this part of the episode could make no sense to anyone.
That's all right.
That's all right. It makes sense to us.
But I mean, I think
Barely.
the recent things about it is interesting. If you don't look further into it, you can very easily label a situation as canceled. I would not say it is.
I still say there's no such thing as cancel culture. It's not. It's consequences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
But- and this
it's
is-
being
this
held
is-
accountable for the
But this
terrible
isn't
things
even-
you've done in your life.
But this isn't even that. This
Yeah,
is
that's what I'm
his
saying.
company being like, we're not going to put these books out. No one was like, oh my God, they're canceling Beanie Babies because they're not making Quackers anymore. It's just a company being like,
Oh my
we're
God, they're not making Quackers
I don't-
anymore?
I don't even know Quackers is a Beanie. It's got to be. But like, that was their thing. Like,
Yeah.
we're just not going to make this anymore.
Right.
And people were okay with it.
And now those books will probably be worth a lot more money if you have
Probably,
them.
if you can even remember what they were. You
Yeah.
said them 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
And I don't remember. There was something about a zoo and some other ones.
Yeah. So Andy, yes, Quackers is an adorable bright yellow duck with an orange beak and feet.
I was
Okay.
like, yes,
Did he not have
what?
wings? I feel like that's why I
No,
remember
he has
his.
Really
wings.
small wings.
But I think that the one that didn't have wings was like.
Oh.
Probably.
Yeah.
His
Someone
birthday is
messed
April
up.
19th.
Well, happy birthday, Quackers!
Birthday,
It's
Quackers.
coming up.
Why do Beanie Babies have birthdays?
Because
That was
they're
a thing. So you could
special, so
like
you could
buy.
celebrate it.
I think the whole thing was like so you could buy the one for your birthday or get the one for someone's. I don't know. But happy birthday, Quackers! I think this is the part where we stop talking. Yeah, this is the part where we stop talking. Thanks for listening to today's podcast. You can find us on all social medias at Inebriart or on Instagram at Inebriart6. You can email us at inebriart@yahoo.com. And make sure you listen to the other podcasts on the Inebriart Podcast Network, including Bar Talk, Old Colony Cast, Retro Redoctopus, America's Hometown Horror Podcast, and our newest one, Theme Park Legends, a podcast about working at theme parks. What else? And we'll catch you again next time.